Good morning, everyone. You're watching Barnstable this morning. Joining me now is Paul Marble, the principal of Sturgis East High School. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we wanted to bring you on for our community profile series because you actually are going to be taking a new role very soon. You will be replacing retiring Executive Director Eric Heiser in about a year. But I think what's so interesting, that I was reading about the position, I think what's so interesting is it's actually going to be a year of a transition period for you guys.
Yeah, it's exciting to have that opportunity. Well, first of all, it's very thrilling to hear the news from the Board of Trustees because of how much Sturgis means to me personally, but also to what you're saying, having been able to work so closely with Eric Heiser in my principal role for the past 4.5 years, knowing that there's now almost a year and a half of everyday collaboration so that we can make sure, because Eric's extraordinary and he's done extraordinary things for Sturgis, and you're always worried and careful about what the effect is going to be on the community. And I think hopefully Eric has an old line that he doesn't want things to skip a beat, and hopefully we can work together so that for the kids in the classroom and for the community members, they don't feel the effect.
It's so cool that both of you have such a passion for Sturgis, and I think that probably plays a part in the reason you got the position. I was reading about the application process, and there were people from all over the world applying for this position. It was a really interesting scenario, but they ended up choosing someone who really had a passion for Sturgis and knew a lot about it. So do you think having experience at Sturgis and being a principal there for so long is going to really help you in that role?
I hope so. I think so. I didn't meet any of the other candidates, but I've heard of the different countries and some of the different experiences, and I think that the Board of Trustees had a lot of good options, and I think what I can bring is that passion for the community and knowledge, and I think it's important. Actually, I was having a conversation this morning with a colleague about that. I think for folks, for alumni, for current students, for families, I think that there may be a good deal of sort of reassurance that somebody who understands Sturgis is in that seat, is in that position, because there are hundreds of folks each year who feel really deeply about and strongly about Sturgis, and while we're always growing, there is that sense of community, and hopefully that's one of the strengths that I can bring, is the reassurance that although we're going to grow, the core values will stay the same.
Yeah, very important. Sturgis is a very special place, and I know they have an international baccalaureate program. Can you tell me what that is?
I can try. So the International Baccalaureate program, there are a variety of programs from kindergarten through 12th grade. We focus on what's called the diploma program. It's the 11th and 12th grade version of that. And so because we're high school, our 9 and 10, then we could do what's called the middle years program, which is part of the International Baccalaureate organization. But what we choose to do is to focus on the 11th and 12th grade, and then for our teachers to develop in 9th and 10th grade what we call sort of pre-diploma program skills. And the 11th and 12th grade program is a rigorous course of study where students are taking all of their coursework in the IB program. And the IB program develops broad learners. So in some schools, students can focus. It's almost like a pre-major. The IB diploma program encourages broad learning. So students take a rigorous course in English, in history, in math, in science, in a second language, in an elective, and then they take other core courses both within the school day and outside, which are designed to create really broad citizens. So there's a course called Theory of Knowledge, where students look at perception, emotion, reason, and language, and how they work and how they help to build knowledge, what their limitations are. And then they connect those to all those subject areas that I mentioned before. So during the course of that 2-year program, it's really not about stuff, it's about habits of mind. What does it mean to know in mathematics? What does it mean to know in the arts, and how do they compare? And then there's also a creativity, activity, and service component where students at any given time are working in 1 or 2 different areas. It could be that they are playing on a team, it could be that they are doing more traditional community service, but they're also reflecting, and we have CAS coordinators at each campus who are having conversations with kids, and so that experiential learning is a part of it. And there's also something called the extended essay, which is a 4,000-word inquiry paper that students do in 11th and 12th grade, where they have a faculty advisor, but it's really much more self-directed, and it's about what the student is interested in. So that 2-year program of study, although it's rigorous, it's designed to make sure that students are stretching themselves in a wide variety of areas. There's a focus on internationalism. Students are working, students have the second language. They are reading English texts that are in translation that were originally written in other languages. In history, they're studying world history. So it develops broad-mindedness, internationalism, and it really has the sort of student inquiry at the core as opposed to here's a lot of stuff that you need to know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like it would be a really good preparation for entering college because, as we all know, there are a lot of courses you're required to take in college. That may not be your specialty, but having that base in other subjects, I'm sure, is really important. Talk to me about, one thing, what do you see taking on in the future, taking on your new role? How do you see progressing the school?
So when I think about the transition, the first and primary goal for me is actually goes back to what we talked about at first. It's just to ensure that there's a seamless transition, that the most important piece, the learning in the classroom, isn't affected. Secondly, I think it's important, I had the opportunity when I interviewed to interview with a lot of Sturgis faculty members and staff, and not only to answer some questions, but to be able to ask questions. And what I'm sensing is that there's a desire amongst the faculty to create 1 or 2 new school-wide goals collectively. So I think it's important that I help that process and not to sort of direct or steer what those goals should be. And the last piece, it's an area of importance and priority. It has been for the Board of Trustees over the past couple of years, and I think will be a major area of priority for us going forward, increasing access to Sturgis, to the IB, for students who are from disadvantaged economic backgrounds, for English language learners, and even more students who are on individualized education plans, part of a special education program. For hopefully, because it's a lottery, we can't choose who comes in, but to try and recruit more students from those different groups to apply and for them to realize that this is a program for everybody, because it is. And so along those lines, Sturgis has already begun partnering with the International Baccalaureate organization on a project called Bridging the Equity Gap, where we're working with 5 large schools from across the country, public schools, who are doing that same type of project, who have 50% of their 2,000 students who are on free and reduced lunch, and these schools want more students from those groups to be in the IB program. So we've already begun working with the IB to help those schools, and I think that will be a nice two-way partnership going forward.
Wow, so cool. Before I let you go, I have one sort of fun question to ask you. I've heard a lot about the fact that there is a rivalry between Sturgis East and Sturgis West. Is this true?
There is a friendly rivalry. I think one of the neat pieces that's happened is we have students that grow up together K through 8, and they both decide that they want to go to Sturgis. They've been good friends forever. One happens to go to East, one happens to go to West. Because of our open access, no cut policies, we have a lot of people that are playing sports, a lot of people that are in stage, our after-school theater guild. We have so many kids participating, and because they're a mile and a half down the road from each other, they don't necessarily get to see each other during the day, but then they get to come back together. So I think that there's a larger Sturgis pride that makes sure that any kind of competition is sort of appropriately framed.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was great to talk to you and very excited for you. Congratulations on your new position. I really appreciate you stopping by.
Great. Thank you very much.
Paul Marble is the principal of Sturgis East High School. For Barnstable This Morning, I'm Sarah Mantle.